Hey, what's up, fellas? How we doing, man? Antonelli here. Answering your questions today. I've been getting a ton of recruiting questions, and so I want to kind of get into the mindset of recruiting and give you guys some advice. I've been through the process as a player getting recruited to play. I've been through it as a college coach when I was doing the recruiting. I've been through it as running a travel ball program where I'm helping our players get recruited. So I've been through it on all different fronts. And let me give you a couple of tips that I've seen that help myself, and then I think help some players, and some of the things that I've seen that have hurt some of our players and some players around the country. So I think as a player, it's really important to balance the this level, the level that you're at, the high school level, and the next level. Um, I think a lot of players get really caught up in the next level and forget to kind of be where their feet are and be right here and do the best job that they possibly can do at the level um, that they're at. When it comes to recruiting, I think it's really two things, and this is kind of when we work with our travel ball program. What we're trying to do. The first part is developing and getting better as a player. If you are good enough, if you have the requisite skills, if you're the right type of player that college coaches are looking for, then your chances of getting recruited are so much easier. I know that sounds really simple, but honestly, in my opinion, a lot of players get carried away with thinking that it's all about getting in front of the right people all the time, getting to the right, tournaments, the right showcases, putting together the perfect email, having the right connections, all this stuff. Now, there's some of that goes into recruiting, okay? And some of that stuff is helpful. But I'm talking about step one. If you think about the foundation, it's being a good enough player and having the skills that college coaches want, okay? So that's where it has to start. And that's the biggest piece of the pie, in my opinion. If you don't have the right skills, then it doesn't matter how many different places you go and how many people you know and who's helping you and who you're calling and what you're saying and all that stuff. So you have to start with that foundational piece, and then once you have that, then you put in some of the other stuff, and I think that can really help you as a player. So um, when I think about myself as a player, one of the biggest things, and I think this really helped me, and there's a lot of players doing this, there's a lot of players not doing this, is, I really focused on my number one thing when it came to recruiting. Honestly, I probably put 99% of my focus into this, was to every day build upon my skill set and become the best player I could be, so that when coaches saw me, they said, that's the guy that we want right there. Ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about coaches. Coaches, a lot of people think that, when players don't get recruited, they always think it's like they didn't get the exposure. I get tons and tons and tons of emails and stuff that says, like, you know, I come from a small town, or I come from here or there, or there's not a lot of coaches out to see our teams and all this stuff. In my opinion, um, coaches do a really good job at finding players. There's so many schools and there's so many coaches. There's thousands and thousands of schools. If you look at all the different levels of college baseball, and all the coaches talk to each other, and there's just a million ways to find players. And so, if you are good enough, in my experience, somebody will find you. And then once somebody finds you, people start talking, and all of a sudden, more and more people will end up showing up to want you. And so, again, my goal was to be the best player that I could be. And once I did that, once I really worked super hard, and every day I went in and I said, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and this is what I really want to improve, or I need to improve. Um, and I really focused on that. Um, you know, all of a sudden, a coach would see me, two coaches would see me, all of a sudden more coaches would come see me, right? And I literally I didn't do anything. Now, not every player is going to be like that. Like I said, most players are going to have to sprinkle in some stuff. They're going to have to learn how to reach out to coaches, and they're going to have to go to some different showcases and some different events um, to increase their exposure. But if you don't start with that main part of it, it doesn't matter where you go, because you're just going to blend in with everybody. Like there's so many players. When I was recruiting in college, I'd get hundreds of emails a day, and typically when you go to events, almost everyone just blends in with each other, right? And then every now and then you'll get the one or two guys that really stand out, and those are the guys that end up getting recruited. And a lot of times those are guys that never reached out to me or anything. It's just you go there and you watch, and you can tell, like, okay, that guy and that guy and that guy stand out because they have a skill set that matches what I'm kind of looking for. And the 99% of the other guys aren't close, right? And so those 99% of the other guys, a lot of the times they just keep running around to different places all the time, and they spend a lot of energy doing that, when the energy would be served much better, in my opinion, if you really you spent all that time to really work on your game, okay? And so that's probably my biggest advice, is to really focus on where you're at right now, and don't get caught up so much in where you want to go or the next level. Like I said, you're going to sprinkle that stuff in, but a lot of it has to be right here, right now. What am I going to do today? Every day you get up, say, what am I going to do today to put myself in a better position to get recruited? Okay? And if you do that day after day after day, and if you start early enough, if you don't start doing that your junior summer, but you start doing that really, really early on, if you're in middle school right now, there's a lot of middle schoolers. I get these questions a ton from like people that are in like 7th grade and 8th grade. Like, which event should I go to? Right? I'm like, what? Like, if you're 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, freshman, sophomore, you should be saying, you should be getting up today and not so worried about what the next event you're going to go to or what email you're going to craft, but you should be worried about getting better as a player. It's the number one thing, okay? If you do that, I'm telling you, the things will end up working out, okay? If you really, really do that and you're a good player and you don't just blend in with everybody else. That's the key, to stand out, let your play stand out. And the other thing I want to say on this, I heard Urban Meyer, I saw a great video on it that he said, if you want to play at the next level, then be the best player in your high school team. So that when I call your coach, the coach says, you have to take this guy. I know you haven't seen him play before, but you have to take him. And if you haven't seen him, you have to get here and you have to watch him because he does this and this and this and this. And he's a great team player. And I know people are going to be like, oh, team player and all that stuff. Like that goes into it, right? Obviously, you need to have the skill set again. But when skill sets are close, they're going to take the guy that the coach is vouching for because he busts his butt and he's got a great work ethic and he plays for his teammates and, all that stuff. Because that stuff translates into getting better and better and better as you get to college, right? It's not just about, coaches aren't just looking to recruit guys that are really good but are not going to continue to get better. Like that's just the first step. You have to get better every year. So be that guy that when someone calls your coach, they say you have to take this guy. Now in football, in college football, Urban Meyer used the high school reference. It happens a little less in baseball with high school. Now it's more about summer ball stuff, but there's still some high school coaches that have great connections and will push players. So, but even if it's about travel ball, be the guy that coaches call me all the time, and when I'm at games, college coaches always come down to the dugout. It happens every game. They come down, they say, who are your guys that I should be looking at? Who are the guys that will fit well for my program? And I've got to pick a couple of guys that I think will fit their program. Be the guy that your coach is going to say, this guy, circle this guy. That's the guy you got to go watch right there. That's what you want to do. And you only do that by, again, having the right skills for those programs, but also being a guy, all the intangible stuff that are going to work out as well, that a coach wants to push you. Don't be the guy that the coach is like, this guy's pretty good, but man, he is like a pain in the ass, and like, I don't know if you want to deal with him for the next 4 years, because that does happen too. As a coach, I got that a couple times, and I think the best, what I tell our players all the time is that I have to be honest with the coaches. So if you're a complete, I can't be like, when they say, like, what kind of kid is he? Like, I can't be like, oh, he's the greatest kid ever. Like, you're going to love him. He's like the best, the hardest worker. Like, tell our players, like, I'm not going to say that, because then when you go play for them and you're a complete and they look and they go, what the hell? His coach Like, Matt told me that he was like this great kid and all this stuff. Now anything I ever say about a player goes in one ear and out the other. They don't believe me because I totally lied about a player. So I tell our guys, like, I'm gonna tell them the truth. And if you're doing something that you don't want me to tell them, then don't do it. Like, that's pretty easy. And I think that's the best way to go about it. It's the best way to build a relationship with coaches, because they need to be able to trust you. So that's the approach I take. Some coaches don't take that approach. Some coaches, again, I recruited, and you talk to some coaches, like, every kid's the greatest kid ever, every kid's the best, every kid throws 95, every kid is a saint, and every kid is in the ballpark at 6 a.m. and he's just like, he works until 10 p.m. and all that stuff. So I don't know where I'm going with this talk right now. I'm kind of going on all different subjects, but hopefully it helps you guys out. So bottom line is, again, focus on being where your feet are and becoming the best player you can be. And when you do that, you'll put yourself in a really good position, and then you can do some of the other stuff. But don't start with the other stuff and then go, oh man, I totally forgot to try to make myself a really good player, because a lot of players that are doing that. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you're not done so already. Give us a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. Share the video with all your friends. Check out the description box below. I've got a bunch of stuff down there for you guys to check out. And that's all I got, guys. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later.